The BBC has pulled a Thought for the Day radio segment after a guest accused Robert Jenrick, yes, him again, of xenophobia over his views on illegal immigration.
So the charity... Sorry, carry on.
Go on, as I say, charity boss Krish Kandiah claimed the Shadow Justice Secretary was fuelling fear of the stranger, but the BBC has now apologised and edited the segment after a backlash. Have a listen, though.
A front-page story in the Mail on Sunday quoted Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick talking about his fears for his young daughters. He said, "I certainly don't want my children to share a neighbourhood with men from backward countries who broke into Britain illegally and about whom we know next to nothing." These words echo a fear many have absorbed, fear of the stranger. The technical name for this is xenophobia.
So Robert Jenrick responded saying, if you're concerned about the risk of illegal migration to your kids, then you're simply a good parent, denying that he's xenophobic. Well, let's speak to the veteran broadcaster and writer Michael Crick. Michael, morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you? All well?
I'm very well, thanks, yeah.
Thank you. So the BBC has withdrawn this segment, edited it and apologised. Were they right to do so?
Yes, and it should never have been allowed to go out. I've always thought that Thought for the Day is a bit of a minefield and is going to cause the BBC... In fact, I'm surprised it hasn't caused the BBC more problems in the past, particularly as it goes out live. And I don't know quite how it works. It operates independently from the Today programme. It's a bit of an anomaly that, you know, has lasted since the days when the BBC used to do a lot more religious output. But contributors tend to be left of centre and, you know, quite often they express left of centre views, which I think is wrong for a broadcaster that is meant to be neutral and balanced and impartial. And if they're going to have contributors who express left of centre views, then they should be balanced by people on the other side, which they don't have. So quite what's gone wrong here, I don't know. Maybe senior people were away for the summer and there were more inexperienced people in charge. Having said all that, I mean, I agree with a lot of the sentiments of Krish Kandiah and what he said in his broadcast. I think there is a xenophobic, more than a tinge, to a lot of what some politicians are saying, and indeed some broadcasters, including on your own channel. I had to admonish one of your colleagues the other day for being xenophobic in a rant that he was delivering on a programme that I was on, and I think you see the same on Talk TV as well. And I think this is dangerous. We don't see the other side. You know, the fact that places where most of these migrants are coming from right now are the sort of places that if you or I were living there, we too would want to escape and go to the West and probably to Britain.
But this is Michael, this is the BBC. It is the public service broadcaster. It is paid for through the licence paid. They have to be judged very, very scrupulously. And to use the word xenophobic, you know what the word xenophobic means. It's racist. That's what he was saying. He was accusing the Shadow Justice Secretary of being racist for having the temerity to express concern.
I quarrel with you. I mean, this is a semantic point, but I think there is a difference between xenophobia and racism. Okay. Racism is dislike of somebody according to their ethnic background, whereas xenophobia is a dislike of people because they are foreigners and from abroad. Yeah. And after all, a lot of people who are from abroad are the same race as us. So there is a difference there. But I think, as I say, I think that was wrong, and I think the BBC should have spotted it before it went out. If indeed they could have done. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that Kandiah changed his script in between it being vetted and it being broadcast. We don't know about that. But it is wrong, and the BBC shouldn't have done it. And I have long been concerned and, to a degree, campaigned against bias in broadcasting for a long time, and that includes bias on GB News, because I think it's outrageous the way Ofcom, and I've said this many times on your channel, Ofcom lets you get away with murder.
What do you mean gets away with murder, Michael? Come on, that's ridiculous. What do you mean lets us
I don't mean literally murder, but in terms of your bias, I mean, you know, of your I mean, how many members? Here's a quiz question for you: how many members of the Reform Parliamentary Party over the last 12 months have been GB News presenters? 3. Which other party has half of its presenters on GB News?
Well, hang on.
How many of your presenters?
Let's answer the question, Michael. Michael, we've got Miriam Cates on this channel. She's a former Tory MP. We've got Jacob Rees-Mogg on this channel. He's a former Tory MP.
Right of centre. Right of centre.
Gloria De Piero.
There's not many left-wingers left on your channel.
Hang on, Michael.
Ofcom should have cracked down on this.
Hang on, Michael. Gloria De Piero is a presenter here. She's a former Labour MP. We are a broad church.
Well, that's
and I would say people listening to this,
you can list about 20 right-wing presenters and there may be 1 or 2 left-wing presenters, and you often get debates a bit like this one, where there's 2 of you against somebody expressing, well, I'm not even left of centre myself, I'm a centrist, but expressing an alternative view.
Michael, I mean,
there's often out there on programmes. I'm up against 3 people.
You need someone holding your hand, Michael.
And it's not fair. And you're a propaganda channel, not a news channel. Same as Talk.
Well, that's
and
not fair
Ofcom should have
either.
done something about this. But that's a different matter. We're not discussing that really. We're discussing.
Well, I would push back on the fact we're propaganda. The BBC, I would say, is propaganda. I would say it's left of centre, and it churns out a left of centre bias all the time, which is why its viewing figures and listening figures are falling.
Well, I think that there has been a problem in the past with some of the programmes it's done and some of the presenters it's had, but I think it's actually dealt with a lot of that recently. And I think that Thought for the Day is a remaining problem. But it's nothing like the difference between you and the BBC is that you as a channel and Talk want to change people's minds in a certain direction. The BBC doesn't want to change people's minds in a certain direction.
Actually, Michael,
if there is bias on the BBC, I think it's largely inadvertent.
Michael,
in your case,
Michael, actually, sorry, the difference is that you are funded, or the BBC are funded by the British taxpayer. GB News isn't.
I appreciate that, and so therefore the BBC does have to be more careful.
It does.
But on the other hand, I've been a broadcaster 45 years, and we all have to operate under Ofcom, who basically have gone to sleep on the job. They're incompetent. They've no longer got any decent leadership. And they've changed the rules
Michael Grade is a very
for channels like you without any public debate.
Michael Crick is one of the most distinguished broadcasters in modern Britain, and he's the head of Ofcom.
The tragedy.
And he is the head of Ofcom. He's a very
he's allowed this to slip
with a blue chip career in broadcasting.
Sorry?
He's had an extraordinary career in broadcasting, Michael Grade.
Well, he has had an extraordinary career in broadcasting, but he has let broadcasters down with his leadership of Ofcom, it's time for him to go.
Oh, right. Well, that's interesting. Just tell me before we let you go, Michael.
And Melanie Dawes, the chief executive.
Right. Well, she's a former civil servant, of course, too, a very senior civil servant.
I know, but she's. Admittedly, Ofcom have got lots of other really important things to think about, like social media and so on.
Sure.
And therefore, and it's probably understaffed and probably can't employ enough people. Nonetheless, all sorts of things go on nowadays on channels like yours and Talk, which we would never have got away with in the past, in my days.
Michael, I just want to ask you one question, getting back to the story we are talking about. Robert Jenrick was talking about the safety of his daughters. Do you accept that being concerned about people from incompatible cultural countries coming over here it's a right to be concerned about? That doesn't make you xenophobic or racist?
Well, you might be xenophobic or racist if you hold those views.
If you're concerned about the safety of your daughters.
I think you've got to be very careful. You've got to be very careful if you're a politician or a broadcaster or a journalist not to stir things up, not to give fuel for fascists, basically, or for racists.
How is talking about the safety of your daughters from men who are from backward cultures with regards to women? How is that?
I know he is, but some of this language some of this language, I think, is a bit insensitive, and you need to be a bit more careful about it. We've heard a lot about a tinderbox this summer. Fortunately, we haven't had the kind of what we saw last summer in Southport, and it doesn't look like happening, as we're now halfway through August, so it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But I do think politicians and broadcasters have a duty to use careful language on this and not give encouragement to the nasties who want to basically be violent.
And you should apply that rule too to the presenters of Thought for the Day, Michael.
Well, I don't think that Chris Candiar was trying to he should have been careful in his language, yes. I'm not sure that his language is likely to create a riot. You may disagree with me.
All right, Michael, always good to talk to you. That's the broadcaster and writer, Michael Crick. We've got a statement from the BBC, which we will read, of course. It says, while its reflection on fear in society from a faith perspective is broadly in line with expectations of thought for the day,
some of the language it used went beyond that, and we apologise for its inclusion.